Hello, my fellow seekers of sunshine. I'm Muluru, and this is...
1 month before ArtFight?
Never fear, there are plenty of wonderful videos and even series by other artists to help you prepare. I'm here to help you take it slow, chip away at some little details that will make your life a lot easier once the event starts. Let's dive in! For the uninitiated, ArtFight is a competitive art gifting game that happens every July. Throughout the whole month, participating artists are split into teams and draw other artist characters to attack them. You can also revenge an attack by drawing something in return, and there's a point system and fun team logos, but the points don't really matter. ArtFight is all about sharing your creativity and your generosity, building community, growing your art skills, and just having fun. Whenever you feel stressed about ArtFight, because it is a lot, keep that in mind. We celebrate artists of all levels and mediums, and whatever you accomplish during the fight is something to be proud of. Because ArtFight can be a lot, and many of us like to procrastinate our scary ref sheets, myself included, I'm bringing you some tips that do not require drawing, but they'll still help you organize that big pile of stuff sitting in your ArtFight profile. Feel free to adapt any of these tips to your liking. Many artists recommend keeping a record of characters you want to attack, including their ArtFight IDs, character permissions, and reference images, outside of the ArtFight website, and I totally agree. You can assemble a giant document, a Notion page, an Obsidian vault, anything, literally anything. I compile my attack list in my personal Discord and make a Discord thread for each character separately. I also make a quick reference list, organizing my victims by how complex their design is. Simple designs are pretty straightforward, while the difference between medium and complex designs depends not just on the level of detail, but on how much effort it would take me personally to draw that character. For me, non-humanoids, as well as characters with feathered wings or lots of scales, for example, go immediately into complex, because those features take me a long time. I also made separate categories for attacks where I want to give the characters alternate outfits, which require me to come up with a new design, and mass attacks, which are drawings that involve more than one character. These categories remind me at a glance how much energy I need to work on a certain attack. If I just finished a mass attack or a complex drawing, maybe I need to take a break with a simpler character design. Or if I'm in fashion design mode that day, maybe I'll go for an alternative design. This organization method is a new tactic for me this year, but I'm hoping it will help me avoid art block and burnout throughout the month, and maybe it'll help you too. ArtFight has the option to set permissions, or boundaries about what type of content you would and would not like to see in attacks regarding your characters. There are character-specific permissions, which can be helpful if you are, say, comfortable with gore being drawn on one OC but not another. But your global permissions apply to every character on your page. I've seen multiple creators mention that you can use the global permission space to give other users a quick guide to character connections, which universe or story the characters are from, all of that. Now, ArtFight has a connections feature for that stuff. Or you can do both, which is great too. However, something I've noticed a lot on the site, but not in advice videos on YouTube, is the concept of having an ask first or sometimes section in your global permissions, kind of like the yellow on a stoplight. See, most global permissions include hard no's, or things that users absolutely do not want in their attacks, and enthusiastic yeses, things they're excited about. But what about those fringe cases mentioned earlier, where an artist's comfort with certain subject matter depends on the character? What if an artist would like you to ask them before posting your attacks of their characters? That's why I love the idea of adding a middle section to your permissions. It's easy for other users to see right away, which gives them a mental note to look over your character permissions carefully. That way, they're more likely to pay close attention to which of your OCs you're okay with shipping, and which ones you just want to blast with a horror laser. Regardless, please read everyone's permissions carefully, copy or write them down, and if you're unsure whether your art concept will fly, it's best practice to just ask the artist or go with a different idea. I love ArtFight's permission feature because it's basically a safety mechanic. It's quite similar to the concept of lines and veils in tabletop RPGs or LARPing. Once you learn about the term, it becomes much easier to outline your own boundaries and make sure others are safe in many aspects of your life. So that's pretty nifty, I would say. Technically, ArtFight character bios can be as long or short as you want. You don't even have to give your characters bios. But in case you can't tell, I'm a lore lover and an organization fiend, so I encourage you to give every character at least a little something. At minimum, some details that really help other artists pose and portray your character accurately are age, height, important design details or key items the character has, and a few adjectives about their personality. If you want your bios to be more in-depth and feel easy and cohesive for other artists to read, let me introduce you to the standardized bio! What I mean by that is simply making a guide for yourself of what details you want to include in every character bio. You can copy-paste your own guidelines into ArtFight's HTML editor whenever you make a new character. Here's what I like to include at the top of my character bios, and underneath I try to condense other important info into 1 or 2 paragraphs. Any other lore, info dumping, etc. will be placed under a spoiler block, so that other people reading my character bios don't get overwhelmed by a wall of text. Aside from the practical reasons for keeping all your bios to the same format, I found that it can make you think about your characters in ways you might not have noticed before. What's the most important stuff you want people to know about your character right away? And how are you communicating that? When I was reformatting my character bios for this year, I noticed that my D&D OCs have a space for their origin, class, and subclass, because that's a big thing in D&D. Instead of ignoring those details for my other OCs, I decided to make them a part of my standard format. Every character has a job, or a role they play in their friend group, or a reputation. Adapting that D&D class info to different situations helped me brainstorm more about my characters. And somehow, even though every bio has the same information, it makes every character stand out. Those are my slightly chill, slightly unhinged organizational tips for preparing for ArtFight without having to get into the weeds of drawing. Although, we're all gonna have to do that at some point, so maybe we'll dive in together. I would say subscribe if you want more of this, but art is just one facet of what I do here. This channel has no specific focus at the moment. It's for me to have fun with whatever projects and thoughts I want to document. The algorithm is going to hate me for that. So, if you're interested in seeing my future videos, no matter what they are, I would recommend subscribing lest I disappear into your internet ether. But regardless of what you choose to do, I appreciate you being here, and good luck on ArtFight! You can follow me there. I am also Muluru on ArtFight, and I'm so excited to interact with any and all of you this year. We'll see what happens. Alright, until next time, take this little bit of sunshine from your screen and make it real.